Hi, everybody. This is KathyL.Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, wearing my favorite color, lavender. And I went to K-State. That was our color at the university. At Kansas State University. And but I've been to 7 colleges. It just happens I liked this color. But I'm here today at the Holly Lake Boarding Center in the midst of the beginnings of an ice storm. It's 19 degrees here in East Texas, and I know all of you are suffering from all this. And I have a really dynamic couple here today, a father and son. I have Mark Green, which is one of our authors, and I have his son, Adam Green, who is a documentary filmmaker and doing all kinds of filmmaking. But he was they were all out with their crew last year, which was legend in Amelia Island, filming for hopefully maybe someday our second documentary. Our first one was For the Love of Books by New York filmmaker William Torgerson. That went on to win the Phenom International Film Festival in Shreveport, Bossier City as Audience Choice Award, I'm going to tell you. And so maybe one day we'll get this second half of our Pulpwood Queen Girlfriend Weekend, because this is the last one, you guys. It's the last one. I am at the end of the year. I'm going to pack away my crown, put it in hiatus, and I'm stepping down from the throne, and I'm coming back as myself, KathyL.Murphy. And I've got a big plan I'll tell you at the end of the day. But right now, Mark and Adam, I've been working on an incredible documentary called Veterans Across the Heartland. I'm going to show you what I put up on our Facebook page. Here's here's the thing. And I have to show you this too before Tamra's having a hard time getting here, but there's Adam and Mark being outfitted with clothes, dress clothes for their trip to India. Or maybe you got those in India, but they are doing a lot of philanthropy over there. I'm going to let Mark tell you a little bit about it. And then, of course, on the other side is Tamra Bolton, whose dad just turned 100 years old, still works every day on the family farm. He's up on the ladder painting the barn. He's chopping wood. It's their family story, and he is a veteran. And what Mark and Adam have created with Veterans Across the Heartland is they've interviewed for every veteran they could find for all the wars, representation. And I'll let them explain that more. So let me see. Tamra's on. Okay, let me get Tamra. Yay! We got everybody coming on board. Let's 5, 6, 7. Here we go. Let's get them all in here.
Yeah, so we had kind of agreed that Tamra would jump in first and talk about her, her thing, and then we'll switch. We'll jump in right when she's finished.
Okay, let me see if she's on. Tamra, are you on board? I'm looking for her. Tamra, there she is. She does ask to unmute. I'm going to get her unmuted. All right. Thank you all for coming back after lunch. I know sometimes we lose our momentum when we take a little break, but this is really important. And I'm very excited that you're all here to hear about Mark Green, who is such a wonderful Pulpwood Queen author. He has been helping veterans. He's now doing work in India, providing all kinds of resources to people. And his son is Adam Green. He's a filmmaker. He did a documentary filming last year with his crew at our Girlfriend Weekend in Amelia Island. We've had 2 documentaries and being filmed, and hopefully eventually this one will get done. But he is going with all these other major things. You'll hear about it. But Tamra's going to go first if I can get her online. She's muted. I guess I can email her and tell her that her sound's off. Let me see if I can email her, call her. Just a second. She's there. I see a picture of her, but I don't see her voice on. Tamra is one of my dearest friends. She's a journalist. Hey, you're muted. It won't let you unmute.
Oh, boy.
This is not cool. I don't understand what's going on with your internet. Well, keep trying. I don't know what else to do except go out and keep trying to come back in.
Yeah.
Kathy,
Well,
you
why
might
don't
be
she,
able
while
to
she's working
unmute
on that,
her
we'll go ahead
as
and
the
get
Okay,
started
host.
so everyone
I'm
can.
going to start with Mark and Adam, and then we'll see if we can get to you. Okay. If not, I'll talk about your book, and we'll all talk about it. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tamara.
Yes.
Okay.
Kathy,
All
as the
right.
host, might be able to unmute her as the host, actually.
I already tried, and it didn't work.
It might be a audio preference setting where she has to set the microphone up and stuff like that. So
Yeah, she has trouble with the internet as much as I do. She lives in Jacksonville, Texas, and she lives rurally. And I'm telling you, we've all gone to all this technology, but it doesn't work. It's frustrating. But I'm going to start out. I'm going to put you on speaker view, Mark. Mark
Okay.
is, and I'll let you tell your official title. You served in the military, and you've done so many things. So let's begin with you guys' story. Share with everybody who you are and
All right.
how we've all
Sounds
come
great.
together through the years. And
thank you so much, Kathy. We really appreciate it.
I love you guys.
So, for those that don't know me, I did spend most of my life from 21 until age 57 in the military. Went from private to lieutenant colonel and retired. In 2017, I got out and I was standing over a window saying, what am I going to do with my life now? Transition, and then I found my heart, which was completely changed me in a lot of ways. And I asked the universe, I said, what do you want me to do? Speak and write? And I got a resounding yes. Well, I've never really written books prior to that. I just decided that, um, just go for it. And, like it may not be perfect the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, or even the sixth time, but I started writing. And so now I'm on my ninth book.
wow.
Um, I've got stories and anthologies. I've got my own books, and I've got two books in the works. I've written my first debut novel about growing up as a coal miner's kid in a coal mining community in Missouri with two families there, and there's a whole story there. And I realized that my work with the veterans really is important to me because I've been one for so long. And so the documentary just came to me as an idea one day, and I was like, let me go out and get the stories of others. We did that also in the book Warriors Code, but we didn't really do it live like that. So we jumped in the Jeep. We drove 3,900 miles across Florida and the Georgia mountains and Arkansas and Tennessee and Texas. And we interviewed veterans from around the heartland of America. And we didn't tell them what to say. We just asked them where they were from, where did they serve. We looked at when did they serve. We looked at what, and then I asked them what their transition was like. And then I thanked them for their service. And we filmed all that. We jumped in the car with four guys. I had one Marine that was a security guy, and I had Adam as the sound guy, and I had a documentary filmmaker, camera guy, and myself as the interviewer. So we captured over 40 hours of film. And then I realized, oh, this is a bigger project than I expected. It takes a lot to create a documentary and have it ready for a streaming service. This isn't just grab some video and throw it up on YouTube kind of thing. So as I've learned, to bridge the gap between what you capture and what you share, it takes time, more time than I had expected. So I'll say that first. I will tell you that what we learned from them is not all veterans are the same. They're all different families, different vocations. They're people, when you stereotype, that's the first thing you should not do with people. You need to let people be who they are. And I've learned so much about that, and I want to inspire change by just listening to others about their stories and about capturing their stories. So I'm hoping that this is just the first of many that we do, and we're able to do a second series after we complete the first one. So I struggled with how I was going to do it, but then I realized for 7 years I worked with veterans, And I kept putting out my own money to, to have golf events with sports action guys and, or, like professional teams and all these things to try to get the word out of what I was doing. And then I finally realized, okay, I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm going to create a nonprofit. So I created the nonprofit Warrior Journey, which now is about 99% done, waiting for the IRS approval. The articles of corporation are already filed with the state. We're just waiting for the finals. And then once we can do that, then now we can share it with the world and ask for donations to complete the work, as well as help veterans that we've met along the way. So it becomes a twofold purpose of creating the nonprofit. I was very like against it at first because I was like, oh, I got to go ask people for money, I got to ask for donors. But then I realized there are a lot of people out there that have deeper pockets than I do. And to try to do it by yourself just does not work. It's kind of like the book community. If you want to create a book, if you can't do it by yourself. You got to have a good agent. You got to have good people that know you. You got to have the circle. You got to be in the circle or out of the circle. People decide, right? So we covered all of those miles in 14 days, and we were busy. I mean, we were super busy setting up, tearing down, setting up, tearing down, setting up, tearing down. And so where we are now is we've actually gotten to the point where we've collected the stories. We took the sound that we did separate and we took the video and we've collated those together. So now we have the data, right? And then I've done an introduction shoot in my living room that we have as well. And so all of this is ready to go to get to the next step of engineering it and piecing it apart to where we can share it in a way that is educational, but also interesting. So we're looking for someone. I guess I'll talk about what we're looking for at the end.
Yeah, I can even take that.
But
yeah.
but the bottom line is that we are doing it, and we're not stopping until we see it on one of the streaming services, and then you'll go, wow, I remember that guy talking about that a year ago, and he said he was going to do it, and then he went and did it.
There's a big process when you want to go into the field of larger streaming, and even movie theaters. Like that whole process itself, it takes a lot of different people for you and the people that you're with that are making the film. There's a lot of communication. One of those communication points is representation. And representation in the film community is very, very large, especially if you, at the first, don't have any backing doing this before.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone is brand new in the industry, they're looked down upon more often than not. And with that, we have the strength in the ability to have that representation with you all being here, listening to our wonderful story, and also getting feedback with that, which is highly important. Now, when it comes to what we've done, my dad has talked a lot about what we have done, and the reality, every single interview that we've shot has been melded together as a cohesive interview. Multiple camera shots, the audio's clean, every subject person is in focus on a technical standpoint, but everyone's story is cohesive, and everyone's meaning behind their story is profound in that interview. I know when we were going to film Tamra's father, he was very excited, and he even told us, he was like, he's honored to even have us around for him to tell his story. And that alone put me in the position of like feeling like this was meaningful, more so meaningful to not just me. I could find that this story would be told across the whole United States and even could be international. So the biggest part of what we've done interview-wise is they're all cohesive, they're all finalized. What we are looking to do when it comes to structuring our first episode is we're looking for a cohesive start. The middle part has already been completed, and to end off transitioning to the next story.
Mhm.
And part of that is requiring us to search the internet for different types of B-roll, different images of certain kinds to make it historical images, you know, that actually relate to each of the wars that these veterans have served in.
Right.
And in that regard, videos, photos, anything that anyone has come in contact with would definitely be a big help, because a lot of the time it's more of a copyright thing, and sometimes we don't really, it's an oversight with most projects of copyright, and then they get striked right at the end when they go and try to pitch it or they try to post it, and something just doesn't go right. So we're trying to be as careful as possible when it comes to that aspect of our gathering of the film. So that will help us in the long run. Of course, that's what we are lacking at the current moment. But what we have is immensely powerful.
Yes, we have like 7 or 8 really powerful interviews.
I think it's 10. Yeah.
Well, there's probably more than 7, but I know. I mean, there's, you know, almost half of them are just like, whoa, you know, like you go away from it going, wow, that was incredible. And so, you know, everything from Tamra's interview with her dad while we went out to Texas, and really that is our highest exclusive, I believe, in the whole documentary. So we have to decide where we're going to place that in the series. But just real quick, I'll share my screen with you, Kathy.
Yeah, and let me ask you, if I have pictures of my father in the Korean War, they're mine. So can I let you use them?
If you want to sign a release, we would be happy to accept anything from anyone as long as they're willing to sign that release to say that it can be used within the documentary. Yes.
Yeah, I'll take some pictures of them and send them.
I'm sure there's people out there that have great historical stuff that would be of value. There's some great historians, even in this, you know, even in the Pulpwood Queens.
Well, right. Everybody's,
it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't want to miss that opportunity to allow someone else to be a part of this. If they choose, they can contact us.
And it's all credited. Every historian that brings us footage or photos or anything like that, you're in the credits. We already have a list of credits, so we're already trucking away at that. And on the editing side, you know, we've got that handled due to the fact that we've amalgamated all of these interviews into a cohesive 3-point structure. So once those were done, we knew what we needed next, which was all of these wonderful pieces of history in each of the wars that we shot.
Okay, you guys, we have till 1:30, so we got to get through all this quick.
Okay, so just real quick, I'll do a couple things. So we wanted to share too, what's the benefit of doing this, right? Because like our country is going through a lot right now. Everybody's kind of see that from the distance. We know it's camaraderie for other veterans. That's a given. The other thing is, you know, the support of veterans of the byproduct through Warrior's Journey. We're going to be helping them with finances, jobs, mindset, and a whole bunch of other things once the nonprofit is approved. You know, we're educating people on the stereotypes about who a veteran is. I mean, I'm a different veteran than the next guy. Everybody has their own thing. You know, we have doctors, engineers, nurses, you know, photojournalists. We have all people that have done all kinds of things. It's not always just somebody that picks up a weapon and, you know, is protecting the country because they raise their hand to give an oath.
Yeah, not everyone's an infantry.
So there's patriotism in it. But it's to show the lives of who served. I mean, that's showing the people where, you know, like, and then seeing those different areas along the way. So if you don't mind, I'll share my screen real quick before we pop over to Tamra, if that's okay.
She's here.
So.
Yep, you're
okay.
Sharing.
So
where'd I go?
So let me see here. I want to do this. So can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Inspiration for documentary.
Yes.
Yeah,
so this is the page. This is the page that's on the new nonprofit that we're building.
Oh, that's great.
It looks
and
good.
So we have the purpose of why we're doing the documentary, discovering the untold stories.
Wow.
And then, you know, supporting us, of course. And then we have a few pictures. We're going to add more to the gallery of, you know, while we were out on there's Tamra's father.
Oh yeah, there's Dad.
Yep, there he is.
Great.
And
100
so
years old.
we just wanted to share that, like we are moving forward, so people know that it's not just, like this whole website is based on, helping the
Wow.
veterans and then tying the documentary in. Now we'll be able to get the donation and support to complete it. So there you go.
And if I can add one more thing real quick
Beautiful.
about veteran communities in a nutshell. What I've observed as a young person in the veteran community is that each and every single one of them has their own mission. And a lot of the times, veterans are missing that one thing, a mission. And part of it, because they're so used to getting their missions, getting their contract work, going out into the field, or being part of service in general, that alone, once you take that away from someone who's been doing that for so long, there's like a missing piece of the puzzle that you just rip away.
Mhm.
And civilian life, in someone's regard, like, my mom tells me to do stuff almost every other day, right? So, because I'd be forgetting sometimes. But when it comes to a veteran being told what he needs to do to serve his country, it's a different perspective. And once you take that away from the veteran, that's what we want to do. We want to bring that back. We want to bring that sense of purpose back to these veterans, give them what they want, give them what they need in that mission sense, and refine their purpose in civilian life.
Good.
And yeah.
Okay, so we want to give Tamra that last piece because she's been waiting, and so I think you're on
Okay,
board.
but before we do that, can you share that website where people can go and
Well,
share?
the reason why I don't want to share that just yet, Kath, is
Okay.
because the donation links are not live and the email is not live yet.
Okay.
But I
okay,
will
well,
I will
soon.
share it with the Pulpwood Queens and make sure that we put a blast out to your group.
okay, very good. Okay,
Very cool.
Tamra.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yay!
Oh, yay!
I'm so glad.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's a real trick to get everything going on this end sometimes. My internet is like back in the caveman days, I tell you.
Me
It's
too.
interesting.
Okay.
Well, before we go on, I wanted to say to Mark how much I appreciate what he's doing, because him and Adam are doing something that, I don't think anybody's ever attempted before. And that's to go out and find these veterans who maybe have been overlooked, maybe their voices haven't been heard, and bring those to the public. And so people can really see what it's all about. Because I know I wrote the book about Dad. Of course, it's a blessed life, and that really brought attention to the World War II veterans. But Adam and Mark are covering the gamut from World War II veterans, which there's a few still around, all the way to the most recent ones. And I just really appreciate what they're doing, because I saw when he came to interview Dad how much work went into it. I mean, these guys, it took them a while to set up, to get the lighting just right, to get the microphones, and they're really doing a professional job. And I was totally impressed, and I just appreciate what they're doing. And it comes very close and near and dear to my heart that they are doing this, because it's so important. And I always get spam calls at the wrong time. Do y'all ever get those?
Yeah, we're getting close on time. So Tamara, you're going to have to really talk quick.
Okay, I will. This is, if I can get my phone to leave me alone. The newest book, I'll just talk about that right quick. I've written several books, but this is my fourth one, and it just came out in December, and it's called His 100th Year. And
Hold it up a little bit.
okay,
There you go.
It's unusual because it's a pretty fat book, thanks to my sisters who contributed to it. But it's unusual in the fact that I co-wrote it with my sisters and my brother, and it's about our journey through Dad's 100th year of him, from his 99th birthday all the way to the 100th birthday. And it tells a story about him and Mom, and not just our relationship, but our relationship as caregivers, and how hard that was. We didn't realize how hard it was going to be when we started that journey. We've been at it a little over 3 years, and unfortunately, we lost my mom in November. It was rather sudden. We weren't expecting it, and but that that produced an unusually different epilogue to the book than what I've anticipated. But I think it's a good book for caregivers to read, and for anyone who is considering caring for elderly parents or knows someone that is in the throes of doing that. Just to give them encouragement and just to let them know that, you know, other people are out there, they're trying their best to do it. None of us are perfect. We're working hard to maintain family and those ties, and keep those things alive. And in this world, there's so many things pulling at families and ripping them apart, and just constantly a battle to try to do the right thing. And so this is written with those people in mind who long for those times, who long for the times when families were together and they did things together, they took care of each other. And this is really kind of showing, hopefully, that it still can be done. It's not impossible. It's not a lofty dream that, you know, it's something that, you know, the average person can't do, because they can. It's just a matter of being determined and putting your priorities in order, because that's really the most important thing that we need to do, I think, in this day and time.
Can you speak a little bit about your dad's interview with Mark and Adam and the crew?
Oh, he was so excited when I asked him about you know, the interview. He said, "Well, sure." He said, "You think I'll have anything to say?" I said, "Dad," I said, "Yes." And Dad, at the time, he was fixing to turn 99, I think, when y'all came. Mark, is that right?
Yeah, we were going to come before COVID, but then we had to wait because of COVID, all that. And
Right,
so
right.
we
And
finally
so
connected.
he was just fixing to turn 99, I think, in the next week. And Dad said, "Well, I'm so old." He said, "I might not have anything interesting for them to record." And I said, "Daddy, don't worry about it." I said, "They'll ask you the questions. You just talk." So he said, "Okay." So once they got there and he met Mark and Adam, it was just like they were best friends. I mean, he just accepted them. They come on in. I mean, they even stayed and had lunch with us, and we just had the best time. But I saw Dad light up in a way that I hadn't seen him in a long time, and it was because someone was interested in what was important to him. You know, I did the interviews for that book I wrote about him and his experiences, and I saw that spark. You know, when he would start talking, and I hadn't seen that since I wrote the book, because we really, you know, he talks about it occasionally, but when someone outside the family showed interest, oh my goodness, he lit up like a Christmas tree. And I could see where that was so important, because like Adam was talking about, these guys need to be heard. They need to be valued. They need to know that what they did and sacrificed for was important. And I think that's what the main thing Mark and Adam are giving them, and the other guys that they're helping them, that they're giving to these veterans, is they're giving them a sense of, yes, you matter. Yes, you're important, and we care. And that's the most important thing we can give them, I think.
Also, you've been posting on Facebook. It's called his 100th year. Not on
Yeah,
Facebook, on
it's Instagram. Yeah.
On Instagram, her dad working on the farm, and some of the things he's doing, I'm like chopping wood at the top of a ladder on a barn. I'm going,
Oh my.
how old is he? And but you got to know, Tamra's the same way. So
Yeah. Yeah.
your daddy.
Yes, I stand accused, but yeah, Dad is pretty incredible. He's suffering a little bit of a health issue with his heart right now, but it's only keeping him from hauling firewood. He's not happy about that, so we're having to haul the firewood for him right now, and so hopefully that'll get taken care of, and he'll be back to doing what he wants to do. So.
That's great. I'm so glad you were able to get on and talk about it.
Yes.
And Adam and Mark, before we're going to have to go, but can you tell them a little bit about what you're doing in India and what you've been doing with the
Yeah, so,
other
so 5
philanthropic
years
things?
ago, I went to do a speech there, and it was with 100 churches. and I just gave a speech, and I'd never seen so much Indian media almost knock us over the table after we were finished. I guess they like people with blue eyes. But when I left there, I built a relationship with a guy who's a Christian man, runs a church. And 5 years later, he called me and he says, "Do you want to get in business together?" I was like, "Well, we're doing what?" And he goes, "Selling oil." Well, my family was in the coal mining business, so now I'm like, energy, right? So I figured, you know what? Let me research it and see if it's worth my time. And long story short, we're a year in. We've got 8 employees, 2 Tata trucks, 2 scooters, and we just got our 3rd line of oil. And we named one of our oils after myself and my wife. He did, I didn't. The owner did. And we're selling oil in India now for motorcycles in Chennai, India, all because we built trust with someone that, like, and there's been reciprocal. I helped him, he helps me, and we're in our 2nd year of business. We just had our 1st year business meeting less than 48 hours ago. So we have 130 clients. We're moving very quickly, and the oil line is expanding. We just put another $30,000 US on the floor for distribution, and we're basically just a distribution company, but it's another stream of income for me in time, because the markets were doing bad and everything was just not working the way I wanted it to with the US. So I just decided to diversify a little bit. So yeah, and then we help through medical camps and the gypsy camps in India. We buy oil and rice for them every year, and we do also some philanthropy on that end.
Well, one thing about India that if you haven't been or you don't know much about, rice is a very high commodity
Yeah.
in India. It is used pretty much everywhere in pretty much every meal.
So we've been twice. I took the family the 2nd time so we could go to Taj Mahal and see some of the things in India. And I just love the Indian people. I love how generous and how humble they are, and how honest most of them are. Just like in the U.S., we have honest and dishonest people. But when you find a good, honest person in India, it's an incredible journey. So
Congratulations. I'm so proud of all of you. I can't wait to see it. So I can't thank you enough. Now, I hope you guys will be back, because I'm going to be introducing all the authors at the awards. But we've got another author coming up here at let's see, I'm looking at the times. Coming right up. We're running a little behind, so I've got to go. But anyway, thank you for coming on board. I'll do anything I can to help you guys. So thank you, Tamra. I hope to see you soon for coffee.
Yes, ma'am.
And we will check out her book, his 100th year. It's on our reading list for December of this past year, but it just came out because it was a little delayed because they had that, she lost her mama. So you guys, there's no nicer family than Tamra Bolton and her family and the Greens. They have been good friends to me, and I cannot thank them enough for their support through all the years. So thank you for coming on board. Hope you'll be back later today, or jump on board for Maryland next, because we got something fun coming up. So anyway, thank you, everybody. I'm gonna let you go.
I think Jeffrey has a question real quick.
Oh yeah.
There's a few people that have questions. Yes. You're
okay.
muted. Sorry.
Yeah, Jeffrey, you're muted.
We got just a few minutes.
With Marilyn on. Is she on?
Yeah.
The link I have is 30 more minutes from now, or 25.
2 o'clock.
Yeah. My link says
All right.
3. My link says 2 o'clock.
Yeah, 2 o'clock. What time is it?
It's 1:30.
35.
Okay, so we got a few more minutes to take questions. Okay.
Sure.
Questions?
Yeah, I have one. So more on the pictures you're looking for. My grandfather retired as a lieutenant colonel after World War II. He was in China, and he used to send my grandmother black and white photos from all over China, and I've got them. And I don't know, does that fit what you're looking for, or are you looking for a specific?
I think it does,
because
every war we're going to be able to put B-roll of any one of those any history that we choose to use. And then we've, of course, would let anyone that's provided any of those items that, yes, we would use this one. And then before we release, you'll be able to see where it fits into the documentary.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, I mean, any and all. I mean, I don't think we would say no to anything. We just want to make sure that the proper releases are done because we don't
Yeah.
want any copyright issues or anything
Yeah,
with photography.
the format of this is really like if you are willing to provide us with some extra photographs or video, the format of it is, when those photographs were taken, the year, and then us giving you the release form as
Okay.
well, and that's pretty much it. Like it just depends on the timing of those pictures, and then we'll be able to use that within our documentary.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can I put the
Link. You can put your email.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my email in the link. How do I get that down where I can get there?
Yeah, just let me know where people can send pictures for the release and addresses, and we'll see what we can do for
Right.
you. And what wars in particular are you looking for?
Every single one of them, because
All of
we
them.
have almost all of them covered.
Okay, so any war between now and World War II, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I just posted
Well,
my
it
email
also looks
address
like we have
for
three
anyone who
questions.
wants to send something. And then we'll before we use it or accept it, we'll send something to a DocuSign or something that says you've released it for
Okay.
purposes of the documentary.
It looks like Janet also has a question.
Janet?
Well, I think Carol's ahead of me, but I'll go real quick.
Oh.
I'd love to send pictures of my husband, who was first cav in Vietnam. I also have some of his letters, which are great. But I also wanted you to know about a wonderful group that's up here in the Pacific Northwest called Growing Veterans. The oldest one is a Korean vet, and what they do is they train vets dealing with PTSD how to grow organically. And they have a farm. It's called Growing Veterans, and I can put it in the link.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've gone out to help them as a volunteer, learned how to select garlic, which I love to grow. But it's an amazing program, and they have a farm up near me, and they sell to farmers markets, but they're teaching organic growing. So because that's really what we need to do the future for our farming and all that. But I'll put that in the link. They're a wonderful group.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that. That's going to be a valuable asset for us when we
I think
get
you
to our
found your
second.
resource. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Carol.
Hey, good to see you guys again.
Hey.
My Pulpwood King is here. Very
Hello.
nice. Hey, I am so excited to hear your progress, and I think I have some resources for you as well, so I'll definitely email you. And wanted to find out, of the 10 stories that you talked about, that you have this cohesive story, have you talked to some wounded veterans as well? Because I have been so moved in my research, because my books are also, they're inspired by wounded veterans, to meet wounded veterans and to really learn some very deep life lessons from speaking to them, getting their perspective. And I love your insight that it's letting people know that their work, their life has been important, that they have a mission, their mission they've delivered. I mean, that is such a gift that you've given them. So thank you for sharing today. But yes, let me know, have you met with wounded veterans?
I think there's two kinds of wounds. There's psychological and physical. And from that, there were some impromptu interviews, and then there were some that were scheduled because of people that we have known before that were veterans. But also because this is our first series and not probably our last, if this is a success, we'll be interviewing all kinds of veterans in the future. And then coming up with a format that maybe, even if we choose to use a format where it's digital versus it's not on the road, depending on the security and the things that are going on in the country or whatever, we will continue to look to expand on the work that we're already started. But again, right now we're just focused and granular on our first, getting the first one tied down and ready to go. There wasn't anyone who we interviewed that had lost a limb or anything in our interviews.
Like more of a physical.
Well, I can't say that because we don't know what.
They may have had the other part is that
they may have had a prosthetic and we didn't know. But, we didn't pry or ask people about their health histories.
Well, if you
But
need those
we also
connections,
didn't stop them from sharing whatever they wanted to share, and we're not going to censor. And the reason for that is because we want people to know who they really are. And
Right.
they've agreed to allow that to happen. And most of what was interesting that Janet brought up about the Vietnam side is I was really surprised how many Vietnam veterans were now willing to talk, which in the past it's been very, very not like that. I don't know if that's the right words, very, very not like
Well,
that.
at the point where you're pushed down so hard by society on your own 2 feet after serving your country, it's kind of hard to talk about your stuff. Kind of like if you're in first grade and you have a boo-boo, but you don't want to tell the teacher,
Yeah.
kind of thing, because you know that they'll take you out of class.
But they were very open, and they did share, some of the experiences of what they experienced when they came back, and it wasn't pretty. But we're not going to censor that. We're going to let people see and hear what these veterans shared with us. So
yeah.
It was
But yes,
discussed.
we would love to find out more about anyone who's a veteran who has served, injury or not, because kind of like how Tamra said, when we go there and we show interest, it's an instant change in their persona, their feelings, their emotions. You can see that smile is more on than it was a more insider smile.
Also, is it all men or is it men and women?
No.
Men and
We
women.
had men and women.
Good.
But like as we went around, we didn't sometimes decide. We just asked, "Would you like to be interviewed?" And there were some that said no, and there were some that said yes. It just depends. But we if they were willing, we took the interview. There was one gentleman in Hot Springs sitting on a park bench, a black man that was just sitting there, and he said he had the veteran hat on. I said, "Hey, you want to be interviewed?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, great, let's go." We did some things were impromptu, some things were planned. We just let it go with the flow, and we just took what we could along the way. So
That's great. Okay.
Thank you so much, Carol. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kathy, did you have something?
Really quick, I want to make sure it's okay if it's not original, and is it okay if the person in the photo is deceased?
Yes, that is completely fine, and we have to have that detail as well, name, time of birth, all that, because that'll help us out a lot when it comes to providing that information on the documentary.
And the other thing I wanted to say is that I was in New Orleans recently and went to the World War II Museum, and
that's a great.
At everything, but there are some amazing stories of Japanese Americans that were in internment camps and also served, and they might be able to find somebody like that. They're all still alive, or were a few months ago. They're aging out, but I just wanted to mention that too. Thank you very much to all of you. Tamra, it's so good to see you.
Oh, you too, Kathy.
Bye.
Yeah, that's a good point to point out for us in our own journey with this project, is that we want to honor all veterans. Of course, that's our goal, which also means deceased. Which part of us, when we were filming this, we had like a somewhat planned route that we were going to enforce for ourselves as the purpose of what we were doing, and that turned out with a little more than we expected. I think we filmed over 20 plus interviews, and we had to decide, which ones were going to be this season. And when that happened, we weren't necessarily thinking like, oh, well, this person is deceased, so we have to put them in there or something of that nature. We were more focused on these particular stories that would be an exclusive story or work well together because they're in the same environment. And that was more of the director of photography's instance. And when we were going through those films, we did come up with these thought processes of there are more than just these people. And we are not trying to just highlight these particular people. It's people within that war that were part of it, that their comrades that they talked about, or maybe someone that they were in basic training with. You know, they shared some of these short stories within their main story, which really put us in a nicer perspective of what they went through. And that helps out. You know, anyone who has been part of the military will understand that each time that they went, it wasn't just them. It's never going to be just them. It's going to be a team. It's going to be a group. And when it is an individual mission, which is rare, I'm pretty sure, those people at least had 2 or 3 tag along. You know, like it's a buddy system out there. So, yeah.
And each one of those interviewees do not like, it doesn't encompass the entire war or the entire, campaign or whatever was happening at the time. It's their perspectives, their story, what they experienced, what they did when they transitioned out of the military, what effects it had on them and their family as they returned to regular civilian life. And then, and then I thanked every one of them for their service, because I remember my service. And it was easy for me because I wore the boots for so long that I could connect with any one of those veterans probably within the first 30 to 40 seconds. And then after that, it was just a conversation. So I think that's what brings the power to the documentary, is that, like somebody who has actually been there and done that, kind of like the t-shirt thing, versus, and my experiences are different than everyone else's. Somebody who went to Afghanistan can have a completely different experience than I did, but I was an inspector general. I was out looking at what was happening across the entire spectrum of operations in Afghanistan, flying on places over the tops of those mountain peaks where, if the helicopter, clipped something, that was the end of it. And so when you come back home and you realize that, freedom isn't free, but it also, there's also a lot of reflection going on in our country. And not to get into the political side of it, because that wasn't the intention of the documentary. I don't look on red or blue or whatever. I look at the person and what they experienced, and showing the world that no 2 veterans are the same. That's
our authenticity.
That's the piece that we want to make sure gets shared with the people. There were a couple things where I'm like, oh no, I can't put that there. We'd have somebody say something like, no, that can't. We don't want trouble for people. But also there was one interview where we're trying to decide if we would even post it, because there was hate mail and all kinds of things happened to that veteran from the choices he made after he left the service.
Because a lot of times controversy can create more controversy than it needs.
And so some decisions have to be made on our part as well.
But we're also figuring out a way to honor our non-censorship agreement with what we wanted to do with this project. A lot of the times people are going to do what they want to do, and we can't really choose who gets that limelight. It is all about the people and how they feel in that moment. So when we hear certain things about controversy coming up in a particular interview, we don't want to highlight it, of course, but we still want to tell the story. And that's the part of the censorship that we're trying to negotiate, figure out, determine what is more going to bring the story out, what his experience was, his or her experience was, rather than what was going to happen or what is happening, or that kind of stuff. Like the present tense really was more of our last question. How was your transition? And multiple people have different methods of how they transition.
And some didn't turn out well. Some of them had great, addiction. Some of them had all kinds of things happen.
And so that's our time. Time is the biggest part when you're trying to not censor things. And that's, extensive looking through the footage, how to craft that exact, sentence the way that it needs to be crafted, so that it's not giving a bad image to that person, even though they're talking about themselves.
And at the end of the day, for us, we are only the journalist piece that is sharing the story. We do not endorse any person or have the same beliefs maybe as them. that's just their story, and they've agreed to allow that to be published. So it's kind of like going and interviewing people that are in prison. Well, they may have done something really bad, and like you interview them, it doesn't mean that you're a part of them just because you interviewed them and shared a story.
Or you're aiding to the case by
Yeah.
giving that information out
Right.
to the public.
But it
Guys,
is
I hate to interrupt, but we're out of time. And if I don't give so much time between each Zoom, I can't start the next one. So we'll continue the conversation. We'll have you back. So keep us posted. Get me, Mark, where they can send you photos with all the information.
Yes,
I'll
and
get your
once we do go live with the nonprofit, all of that information will be shared with Kathy and the group.
Okay.
So if anyone who would like to participate, great. And like if you know somebody else that would like to, that's great. We're just going to keep moving. So thank you so much,
Okay.
Kathy, for everything.
Thank you. And next up, we have Marilyn Simon Rothstein. So she's going to be on in 10 minutes. So we'll see you down the road and take care. I love you guys. Bye-bye.
Me too.